Hey, what's up guys, it's Slikk or Slcmof here. I'm back again with another video, and as I'm recording this video, it is June 23rd, 2017, and in case you cannot remember what that date means, I'm sure it's substantial to you if you're subscribed to this channel. That is the 2-year anniversary of the release of Batman Arkham Knight, the most recent Batman video game, of course, and in my opinion, you know, one of the best superhero video games ever made, despite, of course, some flaws with the game. Overall, it's just a phenomenal superhero game, and Rocksteady did an amazing job with it, all things considered. And yes, the game certainly is not perfect in many aspects, particularly with the Batmobile being very plentiful in the story of the game and some of the DLC and some issues like that. Overall, as I mentioned, the game really offers the most complete Batman experience, in fact the most complete superhero video game experience we've ever had in a video game ever. And for that reason, you know, Batman Arkham Knight to this day is my favorite Batman Arkham game. It is the one I have the most memories on. You know, it's what started this channel back up after I had taken a hiatus for over a year from Call of Duty. It's what really brought me back to YouTube, and it's why I'm here right now talking into this microphone. So overall, Batman Arkham Knight means a lot to me. It's probably, you know, one of the most significant, you know, things to ever happen in my life, and that may seem very dramatic for some people that, you know, view it as just a video game, but to me, of course, it's much more than that. I have hundreds of hours in the game, probably 300 or more would be my guess, if that, maybe even more than that. I've played Batman Arkham Knight a shit ton, and like I said, I love the game. I never get sick of it, and maybe I'll be streaming it tonight as I record this video. But in this video, I wanted to celebrate Batman Arkham Knight in a unique way, and that is going back through some of the concept art that was, you know, being comprised maybe in 2013, 2014, before the game, of course, even came out in 2015, and looking at some of the concept art for the game and what the game could have been in different ways, and what the game turned out to be. We can look at some of the contrasts in that, and also just overall look at the concept art and see how faithful the game was to the concept art and that sort of thing. I think it'd be something that's interesting to do, especially considering I did just see concept art for the new Batman video game that is still a decent ways away, but just sort of comparing that, and I started looking it up after, actually a little bit after I saw some of the concept art for the new Batman game from WB Montreal, and I figured it would be fun to go back through with you guys and look at all of it. I just saw a few of these images, not all of them, but the first few I have seen, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So I'm not going to stop at every single one of these images. There are 60 of them, but some of them really stand out to me. For instance, this one I've already seen before. It really actually reigns true to what the game actually looked like. Very dark and perhaps more foggy in this image than in the actual game, but this really is Riddler's, you know, mansion or castle, whatever the hell you want to call it. The statue, everything right there, you know, perfectly pretty much how it is portrayed in the game. And we see here also some story beats from the game, poison ivies, plants, and that's a great look. I believe exactly that camera angle from behind Poison Ivy looking into the city as her plants are coming up is in the game, which is really cool to see. Of course, this image is famous, you know, pretty much concept art. It's probably the most memorable piece of concept art from the game, and that is also revealing the ending, so thankfully this didn't get leaked before the game came out. But we do see, you know, this man-bat sort of fear toxin Batman thing that is from the end of the game, which is really interesting to see. Then we have this image. I love this image because we have the contrast of the neon lights, and this actually is right near the GCPD building with, I guess it's like the Hispanic part of town. There's also Chinatown in that same island, Founders Island, I do believe, and then there's also, I believe it's the name Founders. I can't remember what the 3 island names are. But anyway, this is near the GCPD building, and like I said, it is pretty, you know, pretty faithful to what the map actually looks like in the game. Here is what it looks to be more early concept art. We can see some people walking on this bridge, but this is sort of the tunnel area underneath Panessa Studio. You actually see Panessa Studio in the back, but it's AM, so they might have called it something besides Panessa Studio, but that from this camera angle in the actual map, that is what it would be. And we can see as well, underneath the bridge, I think it looks way cooler in the game than they have it in the art, because it's more boxed in the actual game, as you can see on your screen now. I think it looks way cooler in the game than it did here in the concept art. So sometimes, you know, the concept art looks cooler than it does in the actual game. In this instance, I think the game turned out way better and they made some improvements. This is a really cool piece of concept art, I've got to say. And if there's one thing I would change about the game is that I think for some portion of the game, the city should have been inhabited instead of, you know, what they did. Obviously, it's much easier what they did in the game to actually portray that, but it would have been really cool if, like, we could play through the first hour when the militia is sieging Gotham. That whole, you know, portion of the game is totally just put over in a cutscene. That would have been really awesome to play as just like an hour of nonstop action as the city's being evacuated and you're fighting militia. The city's sort of in chaos, you can see here. I guess somebody's like on the ground bleeding or something, or they're throwing like gas, the militia is, or something, but the militia just sieging the streets, spotlights in the background. That would have been really awesome to see in the opening of this game. But nonetheless, of course, seeing it in the cutscene, this is also an image that is very, very similar to how the game actually turned out. So if I'm correct, that is actually Paulie's Diner, I do believe, and then the Bank of Gotham. This walkaway is in the game, I know for sure. I might have changed the position around to some of these things, but that's a very cool piece of concept art. This image also pretty much in the game straight up. This building's a little taller than it is in the actual game. This is the same bridge across. This building, I don't recognize a building of this exact style, but I do know that this is something that reigns pretty similar to my recollection. We see as well, this is something that's like right out of the game. I mean, these 4 buildings in the center square, this is the theater, and this is the one that has, I think, the Easter egg on the front, the Solomon or the Legend of Zorro Easter egg. I'm pretty damn sure. This is also a famous piece of concept art that that is from the game and is extremely, extremely true to how the game actually looks, which is cool to see. This is a really interesting image to me because it's daylight out, almost as though perhaps Rocksteady was considering early on having missions during the day or some part of the day. Of course, that didn't come to fruition, and Batman works best at night, so I'm not necessarily complaining about that. That would have been interesting to see, though, Batman during the daytime. And this image is just amazing, and it is unfortunate that the map didn't really come to this necessarily. The main thing that I wish there was more of in the Arkham Knight map is more skyscrapers, and this is what this map portrays to me. You have, residential areas and the bridge and stuff like that, but you also have these massive skyscrapers in the background, and there certainly is in the map. They're just not as many as there is here. Overall, I really enjoyed the Arkham Knight map, but this is amazing, and this is something I hope the new Batman game can deliver on in terms of skyscrapers. We also see in the concept art the plan was initially, it appears, for LexCorp to be the tallest building. I do not see Wayne Enterprises at all. Of course, usually in Gotham, Wayne Enterprises towers above the rest of the buildings. Everything else is, smaller than it. It appears as though LexCorp here would actually be, like the main building, almost as though like Lex Luthor was taking over Gotham, or that was like a plot line they were looking at. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. I just do think it's weird that Wayne Enterprises is not the tallest building in the map, especially considering in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, when you look out into the skyline, you can see that Wayne Tower is taller than the other buildings as well. So that's something that I think was cool, maybe something that they could have explored a little further. So on the island in the map where there's a lot of construction going on, there are some very rundown buildings. This appears to be around Cobblepot Manor, which is in, again, that building where the Wayne Enterprises industrial building is, not the actual Wayne Enterprises tower, but the Wayne Enterprises industrial building, which is actually taller in the map. I think that this building is from around here. We see some lights up here, almost like it's Christmas lights or something, which is interesting. Again, this is something that is straight out of the game, just about. And we can see here, this is, again, what I really wanted to see, the city populated and stuff like that, which I'm hoping that the new Batman game can deliver on, and it's something that they know that we want. This is, again, my favorite piece in the art. This was actually my laptop wallpaper for a while, and I just love this piece of art. I love the coloring in it and stuff like that. I'm not big into, like, paintings or anything like that, but this is just a really, really cool piece of art. This is some really cool art as well. I love the way that Batman is drawn here. I love it when Batman actually, like, embodies the motif of a bat, more than like a human in a bat costume. I think that's really awesome. And this is just an amazing piece of art as well. Again, not quite as many buildings in the actual game as there is here. And you can see this concept art is just really, really good in every way. And I think that the game delivered on the promise of the concept art in many ways. Again, some of this stuff I would have liked to see a little bit more, and maybe they were planning on if they could have, implemented it. But seeing, helicopters and police cars and just a lot of action going on in the streets. We can see some concept art for the Stag airships as well. Here is the clock tower, and you can see the clock tower is much taller in the actual game than it is here. And also we do get to see, the ending scene of the game drawn in concept art as well, which is, done really, really well in the game itself. We can see some more concept art of Batman fighting the Arkham Knight. You can see they actually removed the Arkham Knight here for the concept art to avoid the spoilers. So they have just some like random person in here in case the concept art was to be leaked. That is covered, which makes sense. Here's something that's really interesting. At some point, it appears that Batman was rescuing Barbara Gordon. This is Scarecrow. Of course, again, they're not drawing the actual people themselves to avoid spoilers. But this scene, rather than being on an open skyscraper under construction, it appeared to be in a closed-in skyscraper with lots of these buildings in the background and stuff like that. I really love this piece of concept art as well. So evidently, I imagine Barbara Gordon goes out there and Batman just jumps down and saves her that way. It works either way. But that is interesting, an interesting change that they are actually indoors there. Now, at first when I saw this, I thought this was like a party or a ball that was cut out of the game, but this is actually just the briefing room where all the militia are talking about Batman, and then he jumps out through the tarp or the TV here and beats all of them up in the actual game, which is cool to see. But that is an interesting change as well. So this is Riddler's hideout, which is cool to see. We also get to see Professor Pig's salon with the dolls and stuff in the front. That's really cool. Pretty much straight out of the concept art. Iceberg Lounge evidently was going to be in the game. Now, if I recall, this is one of his warehouses where there is guns stored and stuff like that. We can see that. And, if I recall, though, Iceberg Lounge is not actually in Arkham Knight at all. So in this, concept art, they were actually planning for Iceberg Lounge to be in the game. This is probably a back room in Iceberg Lounge. So it's interesting how that evolved, where, eventually I would imagine this is like the final boss battle where you take down Penguin in the Iceberg Lounge, as opposed to just some random warehouse. I do not believe, again, I'm pretty sure Iceberg Lounge isn't in the game. Don't quote me on that, though. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I'm sure people will. And we see here the meeting. This is the meeting where, Scarecrow here, the Arkham Knight, they do actually draw him, Harley Quinn, Riddler, and Poison Ivy are all meeting to discuss their plans to take down the Bat. I also feel this is a scene that should have been in the game, even in the form of a cutscene. But, seeing everybody talk about the plan to take down Batman and everybody being on the same page would have been really cool to see. This dynamic of all the villains meeting together is an interesting one indeed, and one that would probably be quite comical, but I would have liked to see that. So they were obviously planning from all along to actually return to the asylum, which is cool to see. I do not know who this is. This is actually his secretary who's at the front desk when you walk through the doors right here to your left. That's where she sits. I guess this is Bruce Wayne. He looks white. I was going to say it's Lucius Fox, but it's actually Bruce Wayne. It's just also interesting to see how some things like the shell is copied right out of the concept art into the game. So some things are like so faithful, other things are changed, and we can see some of the banks in the Bank of Gotham. This is Batman taking down some of the bank thugs and actually, saving the Bank of Gotham and stuff like that. Here is the Watchtower, the clock tower, with Oracle hanging out in there. Pretty faithful. Panessa Studios. Some really cool art from Panessa Studios. We can see here, this is the main atrium. When you walk into Panessa Studios, come down the elevator. This is the scene where you confront Scarecrow. This is... I do not know what this is. I don't recognize this right off. Oh, this is in the Ace Chemicals siege scene. Yeah, that's what it is. And that is it for the concept art for Batman Arkham Knight. So, of course, I'm sure there's more out there that we haven't seen, but... So, Rocksteady tweeted this out, too. Today marks 2 years since the release of Arkham Knight. As a special thanks to our fans, we wanted to share early concepts for the box art, so we can see what the box art could have been for the game. So, this happens to be my favorite... Excuse me, we can see Batman Arkham Knight, and Batman is ejecting out of the Batmobile with fire in the background. That one's pretty fucking sweet. This one is actually really good too. The final two I don't like quite as much. I don't know why this would be the concept art. I mean, it's simple and to the point, but this one as well, it's the Arkham City Batman. Obviously, in case you were unaware, Rocksteady was actually planning to use the Arkham City Batsuit in the game, but they felt that the technology of the Batmobile and other technology, like contrasted with the old style of the suit, didn't really work. So they decided to make this suit, which is a little bit more technologically advanced and stuff like that. This concept art is beast. This one is too. I'm not sure which I like better. I like the ambient smoke here. Overall, I did, like the concept art, or excuse me, the box art for the game itself as well. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what your favorite piece of concept art was from the game. Let me know what you thought of the map in general and just some of these pieces of art. It's really cool to see how the game sort of changes and some things stay the same from the concept art. Again, some things are like to a T, exactly the same. Other things are changed entirely from the concept art, which is just interesting to see how that happens. Let me know your thoughts on this video in the comment section below, and like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for all content related to superhero video games, and I'll see you guys in the next video.